Hello, class. We did our adaptation project on autism. Autism is a complex neurobehavioral condition that includes impairments in social interaction and developmental language and communication skills combined with rigid and repetitive behaviors. So it's socialization skills, um, how they communicate, verbal and nonverbal, and certain behavioral levels that are expressed. Now, symptoms are shown anywhere from 8 months to 3 years old, and symptoms you can see is as far as there can be no communication. So at like maybe from like 2 years old, they are unable to uh, respond to a question or their speech. They can't mouth off certain words or words together. There's eye to eye gazing, facial expressions, and body posture. Now, autism exists at so many levels about what experts call spectrums. So there could be mild levels all the way to severe, and that goes for a learning disability, and behavioral issues. Um, there are severe cases. Those severe cases, the students are to require to have a one-on-one professional with them, so they can handle everyday life situations and also while communicating in the classroom. So if they are nonverbal or they're physically disabled or they have seizures, there's usually a one-on-one aide with them at all times. If they act out behavior-wise, they'll usually be a behavioral specialist or just another one-on-one aide that will be there if the student acts out. There are also mild cases where students can learn at the same level as the general ed student. So they're in the classroom with these students, but they may have just mild cases of that express behavior or just how they communicate in the class. Now, there's currently 1 in every 250 children are diagnosed with autism. That is there's 1.5 million people with autism in the United States. Autism is the fastest growing developmental disability. It has increased 172% during the 1990s. 33% of children have seizure disorder. So again, if they do have seizures, there's usually a nurse in the classroom. If not, then the teacher should be trained of how to respond when that does happen. Boys are 3 to 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with ASD. I didn't do too much research on why it's boys is more. I just thought that was interesting. 50% of individuals with autism are nonverbal, and up to 80% are intellectually challenged. So the students that are nonverbal are very tough for the teacher and even the one-on-one aide because they're unable to, express how they're feeling emotionally and physically because they can't speak. So it is a constant challenge day to day, just to communicate with the student. But there is a small percentage uh, that are kids that with autistic are gifted. That could be like really good in art or math. Um, but I have yet to be in a classroom with a student that is labeled as extremely gifted. There's a lot of more statistics on this website if you guys want to check that out. Now, this is my student Clifford. He is 21 years old. I work in an adult transition program. This was my first year, and I'm in a classroom with about 14 students that all have a spectrum, different spectrums of autism, whether it's the Down syndrome or like severe ADHD, behavioral issues, um, and this is a Clifford here who was able to graduate in the program, and he is able to work. He got a job at Smart and Final. Clifford has Down syndrome, but he can do almost everything in the community. He knows how to ride the bus. He knows how to clock in. He knew how to fill out a resume. So that's the first thing I learned in working in the classroom is they do not want you to teach them any different. They want to learn just like everybody else. They want to be included in everything, and that's what we do. We help them um, adapt to life skills, and also work on their vocational skills and their reading and um, especially communication. And it's been a lot of fun at my job because every day, they just brighten up your day, and they're just like us. They don't want to be treated any different. And as you see in this graph, the numbers are skyrocketing from 2002 to 2016. Big thing that I've noticed in my job and on research is that it needs to be a collaborative partnership when working with autistic students. It cannot just be the teacher. It needs to be the student, the parent, the teacher, the admin, and a professional. Professional meaning a behavioral consultant, um, like a speech language pathologist. If they're a lot of them, most of them have speech language. Um, I know every student in our class did, and occupational therapists. They all need to work together every day, or at least be in constant communication, and really really take on uh, how to work with an autistic student. It can't just be one on one. Big thing, especially if aren't they don't require a one on one, or even if they do, um, put the students need to be in a general ed classroom. They need to be in that environment. They need to learn how to socialize with the students, communicate with the teacher, and just live, just be a normal student. Because being in that environment makes them belonged, and they feel even more comfortable. If they feel isolated, that's when behaviorals can act out. I think we should document everything. The IEPs every year. I've sat in on a few IEPs, and I know there's a lot of stuff that could be undocumented. Because you don't have enough time to uh, go every day talk about what the student has done. You only get one day to have the meeting, but I think if you document everything, and you could find some patterns with strengths and weaknesses, that will really help. And another thing too that I would think we need to learn more about the adaptation of autism. Becoming a teacher, it's not just being in a general ed classroom. It's learning every type of learning disability, and you need to do more research outside the classroom, or it's not going to be enough to handle the situations that can be presented. Um, Big thing, strategies that help with autistic students. Number one, and most importantly, is the classroom environment, because students with autism, if they have sensory overload, it can be really um, emotional for them. They could act out and really disrupt the class, and a lot of those things is just making the students comfortable. So, noise level can really trigger an autistic student. If the lights are really bright, they don't like bright lights, and other students in the classroom. So maybe the way you structure your seating, if you know a student is not going to be able to sit well with another type of student, then maybe making sure that student is comfortable with his peers. Um, Organization is very key, because children with autism and even all ages are very OCD. So if the classroom is not organized, they will act out. They will just start going off task and start cleaning the classroom and making sure everything's neat. Um, Schedules, students like to see the whole day planned out, or they will ask questions all day of what's going to be next. How hard is it? Is it scary? So they need to see everything almost to the minute of what the day is going to be like. They love visuals, pictures, um, you know, quotes, anything that can help them communicate or just learn in a different way, and always keep it structured. If change is going to happen, always inform the student because change is a big thing that can trigger behavior with autism. They don't like they they don't adapt well to change. Now, some instruction and social behavior uh, that could really help is, like I said, if there is a change within the classroom or instruction, please communicate with the student. I've been in the classroom where the teacher doesn't inform a student that we are going to leave the classroom today, and the student starts crying hysterically because he was unaware that he was going to have to do that today. So I think just communicating is key. Always work on social and communication skills. In our class, we always ask how their weekend was on Monday. What did they do? We want them to respond to our question and not just one word answers. We want them to try to elaborate and really just work on one-on-one communication. Redirecting is key. We don't want to do everything for the student if he or she is impaired. We do our best to have them try to figure out the problem. If they do require a one-on-one, then that's a whole separate issue. But you know, these students don't want everything done for them. They need to able to learn how to tackle a problem, how to solve an issue. And another thing is groups. Always assign groups carefully. Don't put the student in a group that is not beneficial for them. Put them in a group where you have certain students that are leaders and know to can help them, and obviously the teacher will be there to facilitate. Always be very specific with your instructions. Like I said, going back to change, if you're not very specific, the student will not understand and will act out because he's not too sure. If he's confused, then you'll start to see behavioral issues. What's really key, and this goes for any type of classroom, is always set the tone. Because what I've learned with autistic students, that if they become aware of the direction, with the rules and regulations, they will follow. But if they're not sure, then they become frustrated and they don't know how to act because they really want to please the teacher or the class. They don't want to be isolated. Another thing is be aware of stimming, and stimming is any type of like body movement. So if you see a student start to bob his head back and forth or really start tapping on the desk, that can start to trigger some behavioral outbursts. You need to communicate with the student, ask them, do you need a break? Do you want to step outside? What is triggering this? So you really don't want them to wait until they hit that severe level. Task avoidance. So there's times where students just don't want to participate in a task, and that's nothing personal on the teacher. It just may be something where they're just very confrontational with the task, like they're scared, or if it involves standing up and presenting, they'll start to feel the fear. And there's times where like we'll take the students to the movies, and it's just a G-rated movie, but a student was scared of a certain type of character. There's certain things that just trigger their mind and they see the worst. So you need, if they do avoid the task, just redirect them and see what's bothering them and see how you can change it. And always do rewards before consequences. Don't, if a student does wrong, you want to reward for something that they did right, and then redirect them back to the task. Don't just always drill them, because if they always see negative feedback, then they'll start to act out. That is it, guys. Thank you very much.